Action.
原点の皆さんこんにちは。野村祥子です。今日はコロラド州のコーディレラゴルフコースからビデオをお送りします。私はスコアリングゲームのクラスに来ています。2人のインストラクターに来ていただきましたので、お二人にお話を聞きたいと思います。Mark and Chuck, thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to have an interview with you. First, I'd like you to talk about yourself briefly, your name, where you're from, when you started playing golf, how many years you have been in golf industry, and how long you have been teaching at Pelt School. Why don't we start out with you, Mark?
Okay. My name is Mark Albert. I've been playing golf since about 9 years old. I started in the golf business caddying at Wingfoot in New York, where I grew up, very close by. And I started working in golf shops and working as an assistant when I was a teenager. But I started to teach golf after I graduated from college. I went to college in Florida and then I went back to New York. So I guess that puts my teaching career somewhere around 27 years. And I've been with Dave Pelz for about 20 of them.
How about you, Chuck?
My name is Chuck Kaliesha, born and raised in Chicago. Now I'm on staff at the Pelz School out in Palm Springs, California. I started playing golf in 1972 in Chicago, and I've been in the golf business since 1986, so I've got 32 years under my belt, and I've been with Dave Pelz now for 20 years.
That's amazing.
It's a long time.
What made you join Pelt School, Mark?
Well, I had been a club pro in New York for many years, and I was teaching and playing a lot of golf. But I saw my future in teaching, and I wanted to find my way into a circumstance that gave me a lot of exposure to a lot of people, gave me a lot of exposure to PGA Tour players, which I knew Dave Pelz would give me the chance to do, and I wanted to teach a lot. I enjoyed playing a lot, but I didn't have the resources to pursue it like a PGA Tour career. So what I did was I just tried to play as much as I could, but I started teaching a lot, and I really enjoyed it. And the job with Pelz has afforded me to meet thousands of people and travel all over America. I think my city count is up to like 58 different cities that I've taught golf in America, and we've got a school in Europe as well. So it's been a very fun ride, and I really love it.
Cool. What about you, Chuck?
Well, the reason I came to work for Dave, pretty simple. I've taught both full swing and short game, and one thing I like about teaching the short game, we see improvement very quickly in our students, and of course with that obviously it lowers their scores, and they certainly enjoy the game a lot more as a result.
I know you both had been very good players as you started working as a Pelz instructors. Were there any eye-opening shots that were introduced by Dr. Pelz and worked well on your golf swing?
I think the difference for me was that it structured my practice. One of the things that I used to do was just rely on my athleticism to hit the ball and send it where I wanted to go. But what it did was it gave me a structure for every shot that I was hitting to understand why I was hitting the shot well or why I was hitting the shot poorly. And that gave me the opportunity to fix a problem if I had it, but it also gave me the opportunity to build and strengthen my habits so that I was reliable when I went out to play.
So all the Pelz theories were backup of your
without question.
or result or
Yeah.
feedback of how well you did or how
I'm
bad
sure
you did.
Chuck will concur on this, but
Yes.
when you realize that 80% of the shots you lose to par happen within 100 yards, you start to understand, even as a young person, all you care about is hitting it far, but then you start to realize the importance of a short game, whether you hit it great with your power game or not. And then when you structure that practice and you get better at those shots, your scores really lower. They really come down.
And it's interesting, one thing I noticed on working for Dave as a young assistant pro, we were all taught by our head pro, our boss, and basically all these techniques have been handed down generation to generation, so they just showed us how they learned it from their head pro, and as we got to work for Dave, we found that there was a much easier way to do it and a much more consistent way, so that of course you could see the results a lot faster.
Were there any gap between that you were taught from your boss to be generated into your generation? Or
Yes.
were
That's a
there
good question.
very similar to what you have learned in the past?
No, matter of fact, most of the techniques that we talk about here in Pels are quite a bit different than what I was taught by my first boss in the golf business.
Okay.
So now I find it so much easier. In fact, both Mark and I, if we didn't use this in our own games, certainly we wouldn't be teaching it, but we have both found that it's just immensely helpful in reducing our scoring averages and makes it more enjoyable to play the game as well.
So you both are definitely proud of being
Oh
a
yes,
part of a
very much
team
so.
of Pels.
Very much so.
Yes.
That's great. I'll keep this a secret, but any technique Dr. Pels introduces that you totally disagree with?
I can't think of anything.
I don't have anything I disagree with.
No. No.
What I think one of the most important things that you need to understand as an instructor is that you're always a student. And then once you understand how simple the techniques are, you just go, why would I do it any other way? It doesn't make sense. I mean, physically it's simple, it's reliable, and that's why we're here for so long, because we understand that.
Yeah, I liked the idea of Dr. Pels that to make things as simple as possible.
Right,
Yes.
right.
So that's the basic
Yep.
fundamental that you have at the bottom of everything
Yeah,
on
we
top.
were when we started with the company, we were very open-minded, willing to learn everything that he was going to teach through the short game Bible and the putting Bible, and it's been good. It's been very good.
Here comes a professional question, but would you teach long game and short game differently? Or anything you would be cautious or careful as you teach short game?
There would be a difference, but there are certain things that are universal. Like you can't have a lot of tension in your game when you play golf. And
Both
yeah,
long and short game.
I mean, clearly the objectives might be a bit different. With your power game, you're trying to send it out there with full power, you might say.
Sure.
But with your short game, you're trying to control the distance of the shot.
Mhm.
And that means that there has to be sort of a precision and a structure to what you're doing to predict the outcome. So I believe that the power game does have a bit of difference, and the short game has a sort of a different sort of paradigm or philosophy about it. And that's why there's a separation. That's why Phil Mickelson has had a short game coach and a power game coach. You see things like that.
That's amazing. How about you, Chuck?
Well, there are certain things that we do here in the short game school that can carry over into the power swing. But of course, again, having taught both, there is no question that I've always taught power swing differently than I do short game.
Of course, the theory and the character-wise, short and long games are different totally.
But some of those things that Mark spoke of, which would be very relaxed, very rhythmic, those things actually do,
be mutual.
yeah, those are mutual characteristics and fundamentals in both
Okay.
swings. Yes.
That's right. Now I have been through 2 days with this fun and amazing school. The most eye-opening things that you taught me were, number one, chip shot. I read the short game Bible through, but I realized that I was not getting 100% out of it, as I told you on the first day. In a hands-on class like this,
Oh yes.
really helps me to learn the correct ways.
Live feedback is a must. Many people misinterpret what they read in the book or a magazine, and they think they're doing it the way they should because they rely on what feels good to them. And you always need that live feedback to say, look, it looks really good, but this is out of position or this is not right, and that might not feel good right away. So you have to sort of fight through that and
I
build
felt
your
so awkward.
Yeah, no doubt.
Until
But
you get
if
used
we
to
took
it.
a photograph of your setup or we took a video of your motion, you would say, okay, I understand it doesn't feel good right now, but it's something that I wanted to commit to. And of course, as we all know, golf takes practice. It takes dedication. And with a little bit of practice done the right way, it starts to feel great because the results turn out great. You want to commit.
I trusted both of you, so I kept trying the same thing, and
Very good.
finally.
See, and the beauty of our schools, our 3-day schools, is certainly we get the benefit of using the videotape on day 1, and of course day 3, and we get to compare the two, and all of our students can see the difference just in simply the day and a half to 2 days that we've actually been instructing them.
I see.
And once you stick with it, all of a sudden, wow, yeah, this makes a lot of sense.
I can't wait for the after video clips to be
Yes.
seen.
Oh, it should be good. It's
Nope.
always good.
Yeah. Number 2, Chuck, is that the fact that bunker shot and distance control pitch shot were the same swing.
Correct.
So as I said, I liked the idea of Dr. Peltz
Keep it simple.
making everything simple.
So old school, again, thinking back to when I learned from my bosses, they made the bunker swing much more complicated than it really needed to be. And so I figured, well, they're my boss, so they must know. So I didn't notice a lot of improvement with my students, and I said, well, there has to be a better way. And all of a sudden, just having been working for Dave for 20 years, he has simplified the bunker setup in the swing, and now all of a sudden we see some good results with our students.
Me too. I'm seeing by myself.
That's nice.
Okay, finally, this is the last question for the Japanese amateur golfers who are watching this video. 23,000 people or so. Please give them advice as they work on their scoring game to improve their game.
Well, there are a lot of things that you can do, but the one thing that I would make sure that you do is master a chip shot, something close to the green, whether it be from short grass or whether it be from long grass, because the opportunity to chip the ball close to the hole and one putt can make all the difference in the world in your score. Unfortunately, people get close to the green, they get a little uptight, and they don't hit the shot well, and they end up with 2 or 3 chip shots and then a 2-putt. Their scores go much higher. So if you can get your first chip shot on the green with a good setup and a good motion, and then you get it close enough to 1 putt, your scores will come down dramatically. It could be the most important shot in your golf game, to hit that chip shot close. What do you think,
Using-
Joe?
And to add to Mark, when you practice and play, especially of course your practice sessions, be sure that you pay attention to a couple of things. Number 1, pay attention to your aim. Number 2, your ball position. Number 3, your weight distribution. If you have those 3 things in place on each of your shots, and your mechanics aren't dead on perfect, you'll still be okay with the result.
Yeah.
So always think about 2% only with the
Well-
ball and then 98% with
Yeah.
all the class.
Well, consider it
finals.
this way. If you commit to your best motion and your setup is sound, as Chuck just mentioned, not much can go wrong. So if you just decide to make your swing look as good as possible and try to make it as functional as possible by commitment to your best motion, something that's going to happen. And even if it doesn't, you're going to learn faster, a lot faster, and get better.
That tells us everything, right?
Yes.
Wow.
Very nice.
Thank you so much for your
You're welcome.
time.
You're welcome.
Well done.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
All
Chuck.
right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Say something in Japanese.
Sayonara.